Let's just start right off the bat. Bills championship window, it's closed, right?
No, it's not closed. It's not. It's really. Listen, when you have a quarterback of that talent, right, with Josh Allen, where I don't say this lightly, it is arguably the most talented quarterback in the history of football. The window is never really closed.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. Dan Fates, I'm Mike Catalana. Thanks for being with us. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We continue here in Indianapolis
Grinding
at NFL Combine. So we're going to talk about the important stuff, like what St Elmo's was like as a restaurant.
There was an accident.
Yes. And then Dan's,
We had
it's
a
about
moment.
scooters.
Yep.
That's what I'm going to just say. So
Yep.
we're going to leave that out there. We'll tell you about that and what we're hearing
Yes.
around this place. But, you know, one of the things, when you come to an event like this, we always say, everybody in the league is here.
Yeah.
It's a version of like league meetings in baseball, right?
Correct.
There's deals going on. General managers are here. They're talking. Agents are here. And all the college players.
What did
so
you say?
It's
Like,
national media
Yeah,
here
like
too.
you can't swing a cat around and like not hit like a media personality.
Or a Harbaugh. There's a
Like-
Harbaughs all over the place too.
yeah,
Yes.
so,
well,
like-
there is. Everybody is here. You know, all the networks are here. People who cover the
Think
league
of a
from around
person
the
that you've
country.
seen on TV. They're here.
Yes.
And we've caught up with a lot of them.
Yeah.
And one of them being NBC's Sports Chris Simms, who I've caught up with the last 3 years. He remembered me and said, yeah, we keep doing this thing, okay?
Yeah.
So it's a nice touch.
Yeah. Chris Simms is a guy who played in the league.
Yep.
You know his dad is Phil Simms, so he's from that family, and he's had a pretty prominent role with NBC Sports doing that, and he has a lot of opinions on the Bills.
All right, now joined by NBC Sports Chris Simms. We seem to do this every year at the
That's right.
NFL
It's a
Combine,
tradition.
so I appreciate it as always.
Always.
Let's just start right off the bat. Bills championship window, it's closed, right?
No, it's not closed. It's not. It's really. Listen, when you have a quarterback of that talent, right, with Josh Allen, where I don't say this lightly, it is arguably the most talented quarterback in the history of football. The window is never really closed, right? Now, how wide open is it? Is it a crack? Is it a big gap? Whatever. Okay, that's debatable, sure.
Yeah.
But no, I still think there's a lot of pieces there for you guys to be very relevant and in the big picture of things.
But we can be critical at times of Josh. So where do you see his game needing the fine tweaks in the improvements?
Well, I don't know if I think there's too much on Josh. This is what I say a lot, right? And I have such respect for, everybody up there. Brandon Beane, McDermott, everybody that's done such a great job. The one thing that I think bothers me a little bit when it comes to the Josh conversation, as maybe compared to some of the other superstar quarterbacks in football, there isn't as much talent around him as some of the other guys, right? That's where I would argue. Stephon Diggs, of course, he's still very good. Am I going to sit here and tell you I think he's a top 5 receiver anymore? No, I don't think he's
Right.
in that category,
Right.
You get to the rest of the receiving core, and I think you ask around football, myself included, it's debatable about how talented that group is, and I think that's the biggest thing, let alone we know, Joe Brady took over and they got the run game going, but it was the first time we had a run game going in all Josh Allen's career, right? So that's where I just say it's a lot. Now, he can put a little too much on himself and try to make things happen, right? But, I think that's pretty customary for really talented quarterbacks when they go, wait, we're deficient here, so I got to make up for it, and he's just got to balance that a little bit.
Understanding the Joe Brady aspect. Middle of the season,
Yeah.
Josh, Sean both kind of said you don't get to put your full flair in the middle of a season.
No.
So what did you like, what you saw changed, and what do you hope to see? Because it seems like Josh said there'll be more flair, it'll be more Joe Brady with an entire offseason.
Yeah, I think the one thing is toughness. I saw that. I like that, right? All right. I saw different plays from even when Joe Brady was the offensive coordinator at Carolina that made me think, okay, we've evolved a little bit. We learned, right? Which is going to have to hopefully continue, because I'm a fan of Joe Brady. I know he's smart and knows his ball, right? It's just about getting out there and stealing plays from people and putting it together and putting your own spin on it. That's really what it is. But then, spreading the ball out a little bit is what I like. The use of the running back in the pass game. That, of course, was a big thing, too, and I'm sure that's the influence he had of, Sean Payton down in New Orleans with Alvin Kamara and all that. It's such a big part of it. So those are little things that, to me, were new to the offense as far as Joe Brady's spin on it, and hopefully he can continue to grow that. And then, like I said, in my opinion, they need one more scary guy, right? They need another scary guy, period. I mean, that's just, you go through it, and I know Mahomes did it this year, right, without a lot of great receivers, but he's got the greatest tight end in the history of football, and they had a special defense, and they're a special team in general. But for the most part, yes, there needs to be more explosive playmakers around Josh Allen.
And is that just, I mean, Kincaid stepped up. You saw some emergence of that. You saw James Cook make a Pro Bowl.
Right.
But this is still a passing league, and it's still a quarterback league.
Sure.
And not to say Gabe Davis underachieved, but 7 games with 1 target or less, like he wasn't
it's not
enough of a guy.
Period. It's not a number 2 receiver. Period. It's not. I hate. This is what I hate about my job, because I like Gabe Davis, and there's a lot that I respect about him. But no, Gabe Davis is not a number 2 receiver on anybody's team in football. But everybody, and a lot of people in the media, sometimes they listen and they think the Bills have this high-flying octane offense, and I go, are you kidding me? Do you want to measure that against the Ravens receivers and their tight ends, or
and
Joe
the Ravens
Burrow
just
and the
got better
Bengals,
instantly,
or the Eagles, or the Dolphins, or whatever? I mean, the firepower is not on par with those football teams, and that to me is what's got to change. The 49ers, we can go there, right? Wherever you want to go.
Is there outside of adding another weapon? Because I understand it. And you talk about the Ravens. I think it's a great point, because for a while it was Lamar doesn't have the wide receivers.
Right.
You give him a wide receivers, he has another MVP caliber receiver.
Right.
It's like, oh, it's funny how that works.
Yeah.
When you watch the playoffs and the Super Bowl and things like that, where do you see the Bills missing not just that one piece, but getting over the hump? Is it just? I mean, it's easy to say it's just the Chiefs.
That's what's tough. First off, Super Bowls don't grow on trees, right? And as I've said to my buddy Kyle Shanahan, who I went to school with at Texas and all that, hey, I know it stinks to lose a Super Bowl. You're playing an all-time great, right?
Yeah.
I just thought about, Allen's one of the greatest talents in the history of the football. Mahomes is right up there with him. They might be the 2 greatest, most talented guys ever. Him, Rodgers, right? Brett Favre, Elway. Those 5 right there, they could do anything in any offense at any time, period. Right. So, they're losing to a team that's got special chemistry and has gotten over the hump, and they don't feel the pressure of this stuff anymore. Absolutely. That's the other thing, too. Once you win a Super Bowl, and especially you come back by 10 in the 4th quarter, there's no pressure anymore, because nothing reaches that pinnacle there. So it is about just getting over the hump there. And then, hey, I think the culture's right. I love the defense the way it's coached. It looks like Joe Brady's on his way. But just like I said on the offensive side of the ball, where I'd like a little more sizzle with the steak and potatoes, the defense needs another man-to-man corner. Yeah. We can't get in every big game and go, oh, we have to play zone the whole game, and then Joe Burrow picks us apart and we go, whoa, Joe Burrow's amazing. Yeah. Well, Joe Burrow picks apart zone. You got to be able to play man in some big situations like you saw the Chiefs do in the Super Bowl. And then the pass rusher, that's what's unfortunate about the Von Miller thing. That would be, 2 things I would look at to go, man, if they can get, 1 more pass rusher and 1 more cover guy, they could be a real pain in the butt on that side of the ball.
I know you already said you have so much respect for Brandon Beane, but I think what Sean proved this year, with holding that defense together with duct tape and tinfoil with all the injuries that they had, does there feel like, especially this offseason, the salary cap being an issue, a lot of pressure on Brandon? Outside, maybe your perspective?
I feel like it, yeah. I feel like, this is something I've been saying for, if you listen to my podcast, which I don't expect you to do, or something here with
we
Florio.
do, yeah. But not with Florio.
I've been saying this for 2 or 3 years. This has been, to me, the one thing. The meat and potatoes, the team, the coaching is all good. There just has to be a few guys who can go above and beyond the coaching in big moments, right? Chris Jones knocks a ball down in every big game or gets a sack in every big game, right? It's got to be something like that, right? There's got to be a guy it can't always be Josh Allen having to make superstar plays, leading the team in rushing and doing that. Somebody else is allowed to get a strip sack, fumble, intercept the ball in a big moment, do something. It can't always be on him. And that's where, to your point, I think it goes on. There's a lot on Brandon Beane. I think the word is out there, or people feel that way this year, where they finally go, wait, I was a hater of Josh Allen, but I can't really deny it too much anymore. There's some issues here. And I think people are starting to realize that a little bit.
Listen to his pod, watch his show with Florio, do all the good stuff. Chris Simms, as always. Appreciate it, man. Thanks so much. Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Simms...
You know what? I screwed you up there. Not that really matters. No, I was going to say, here's the full interview with him.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay.
Because I introduce him, too.
Right.
I do the, hey, we're doing this again. So, 3, 2... Yeah, I always enjoy talking to Chris Simms. Also in the sense of, sometimes people forget, even if you're a bad NFL quarterback, which Simms was an average quarterback, right? He almost spleen ruptured during a game, actually, on top of that. He was an NFL freaking quarterback.
Yeah.
he's forgotten more about football than we will ever know. And so that perspective that he gives, I always enjoy. It's like when people talk about Orlovsky. They go, well, he ran out of the back of the end zone. He wasn't a great quarterback. He was a backup. Played 13 years in the NFL. Like, Dan Orlovsky, when he watches tape, it's different. I listen to what he says and what Simms says.
Yeah,
because they've done it.
And it doesn't mean you have to agree with what they say. Everybody has their own opinions. And he will say, this is my opinion on what I'm watching. But it does come from a place of knowledge of the game for many, many years. And, relationships with people. Look, they have strong opinions sometimes. Josh happens to be a player that he just loves.
Yeah.
Loves watching him play. It's actually hard to find people who don't
at this
think
point
very highly of Josh
especially at
Allen.
this point.
There's still some criticism that happens when you don't win everything, but it's few and far between.
Well, I thought that was funny when I asked him, what can he improve on and what is this? And he's like, sometimes he puts too much on his plate. And it's like, that's like saying, like, what are your biggest strengths? It's like, or what are your biggest weaknesses? Like, I care too much. I work too hard. I put too much into this. Like, yeah, like Josh, but again, that goes into what we've talked about as Brandon Beane giving Josh more weapons, more explosive players, more speed to take some of that off of him.
Yeah, in the question you asked him in there about the window for this team.
It's amazing.
Look, you could say, and the thought around here with a lot of people is, look at the Chiefs. They win. They're a younger roster. They have so many draft picks playing. Oh, and by the way, they have Mahomes. But that being said, all these other teams, the Bills, the Ravens, the Niners, the Bengals, all these teams are behind them, but it is close. Like, it is not like this is a team that dominates week in, week out. They know how to win, but that window, again, how close were the Bills to knocking them off this year? Not close enough. They didn't win the game.
Correct.
But that window is not closed. Now, it's going to take some adjustments, and that's part of what they're here for, but I think that's still important.
Brandon Beane even hears the window conversation. He kind of chuckles about it. Like, this thought, too, of, like, the salary.
Chuckles is one way to put it.
Yeah, he doesn't really
agree with the thought that the window is closing.
He understands that we have to talk about it
this way. If the Bills' window is closed, then
the window's
is open?
Yeah.
Would you say the Niners is open? They have a very good roster. I mean,
you just love bringing up the Niners.
No, I'm saying is who would be above them?
Exactly.
The Bengals? We don't know how it's going to work out with their wide receivers and what they end up doing. So the windows thing, like all these teams' windows is open, and you never know how it all plays out.
And it's also trying to zoom out. Obviously, everybody here that likes, comments, and subscribes to the channel, Bills fans and that connection. What do you think the Bengals are talking about? What do you think the Ravens are talking about? How to beat Mahomes and the Chiefs? Yeah. It's not just a Bills problem. The Bills, yes, they have been knocked out 3 out of the last 4 years by Kansas City, but it's not like they're the only team that has an issue with Mahomes and all of this. So again, zoom out and take that perspective.
And they both mentioned, oh, by the way, they've had success against them. Again, I know it's in the regular season, but they've beaten them 3 times. Like they can be, and they do get them in Buffalo next year. Which should be fun.
And so, again, I appreciate what Simms saying. And like I said, pretty strong words about Gabe Davis and where this offense needs to improve. And from what we've heard, and we've got videos with Matt Miller from ESPN, as well as Emery Hunt, who's a really smart draft analyst. We've talked to Chris Trapasso before and the wide receivers. The consensus of what we are hearing around is that there are 4 slam dunk. Everybody agrees on whatever the order is, but there's 4 that are above the rest, wide receiver wise. And they will all be off the board before the Bills pick at 28. Then Matt Miller talks about it, that there's, along with those 4, there's about 3 to 4 more that should go in the first round. So you got 7 wide receivers in the first round. The Bills are going to have their chance. And again, I know everybody talks about the depth and depth and depth. Get one of the top guys.
Yeah.
Get a first-round wide receiver.
Yeah, and because Kansas City's going to be sitting there at 32, and they may be taking a wide receiver.
They need a wide receiver.
Yes, they do. I mean, they do. They
yeah.
do. Yes, you don't want to see that. All right, we mention a lot when we come to Indy, a highlight for us. It's become a tradition. It's a tradition for a lot of people here, is to go to St Elmo's Steakhouse.
It's amazing.
It is a famous place. It is packed. And look, you're in Indianapolis. We're not in L.A. here. I mean, there's nice places. But it's a relatively small city. It's not it's not New York. It's not Philly. It's not Chicago. It's not those places. So you go.
There's so many steakhouses.
And yes, they do love steak. But we get a chance to go. So you've been a few times now. Dan did not eat the entire day to wait to go.
Part of it was because we're working hard.
Yes.
Part of it was also preparing.
So what'd you think?
Incredible. Old-fashioned starter, and we did that. We got the shrimp cocktail, which are
Famous for the shrimp cocktail with incredibly hot horseradish cocktail sauce.
clears out your sinuses.
Oh, yeah, no
Almost
question.
makes your eyes water with how much
Oh, it
horseradish
does.
is.
Yeah, it does. It does make your eyes water.
Delicious.
Steak was excellent.
In a little navy bean soup. I'm
Yeah.
not even a big bean guy. Great soup
I
as
know.
a starter. It was it was amazing. And again, you walk in and it's like a step back in time to an old school steakhouse. I think that's what's so cool about it for me.
Yeah. We're pretty simple this way. Like,
Yeah.
we like that kind of thing, and it's fun here. And it's fun because I think of the atmosphere. And
Yes.
if you ask around this place, a lot of people make it a relatively yearly tradition when they come here.
Absolutely. And like I said, there's so many steakhouses around, but St Elmo's has kind of got that touch.
And then when we got done dinner, our transportation back to the hotel is very close. We're very close to the hotel. We've been walking. It's an easy walk. But Dan had an idea. It might have been a late night idea. It might have been a late night idea that was embraced maybe more readily because you mentioned an old fashioned and maybe a couple of beers later that you said,
I have never ridden on a scooter before. One of these motorized Lime scooters. Was that what it was? Yeah, it was Lime. They were there.
It sounded like a great idea when we did it.
Okay. So we got back to the hotel quick. Like, they go fast.
Yeah.
Matt Beauvais also took a scooter. He helped set us up with it. He said they went 17 miles per hour.
Yeah.
You should wear a helmet.
Yeah, they do tell you should wear one, which is probably a very good idea. I don't see a lot of people wearing them when they're riding around the scooters. We were not wearing helmets.
And we were pulling up to the hotel. You know when you get off like a bike, like if you're riding a bike and then you're like, well, you hop off and you can kind of maintain the speed. It'd be like hopping on a treadmill, like picking up the pace. We were going way fast. I was going way faster than we thought. And there was an accident. There was a curb. And I didn't make the curb.
Boom. I'm looking up and I go, and then what did I say? That's not good. I think I said that's not good.
It was the classic Catalana, like, oh no. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not good. And then you say, well, I'm all right. Now listen, the old man didn't fall. I made it back, and I sort of avoided the sidewalks.
Yes.
Right down the middle of the road.
Yeah. I took the little bumpy sidewalk, and Mike did ask if I was okay, and then he was gone.
And I was going, hey, it was late. I was done. I'm like, he's fine.
But yeah.
So was it.
So there was an accident on the scooter.
Yeah. Scooter's fine.
Scooter's fine.
Brought him back.
I'm
Dan's
fine. Was a little tumble.
It was. Now that he's okay, it was hilarious.
I wish there would be a surveillance camera video
Oh
of that.
my God, I wish I had a GoPro following you as you just sprawled out on the sidewalk. Scooter's okay. We're okay.
Yep.
Everything's okay.
Great night.
Yeah, we'll put that on the list.
Yeah.
So anyhow, as Dan said, we're going to continue to have content, and with some of these interviews,
Matt
leading
Miller.
up, yeah.
Emery Hunt. You talked with Janae
Coakley from SNY, covers the Jets.
Yep.
Really good insight onto their off season and the way they're looking at it. All that stuff's coming up in the next little bit.
Yeah, we're going to spread it out a little bit.
Hey, and free agency is going to be here fast. It's only a few weeks away. So plenty to talk about, plenty of coverage.
We did it.
For Evel Knievel, I'm Mike Catalana. Thanks for being with us. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Do you know who Evel Knievel is?
I do.
Okay, just making sure. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you next time on Buffalo
Comment in if
Plus.
you've ever ridden a scooter, because they go fast.
Or crashed one.
Buffalo Plus, your interactive look at the week in football, brought to you by Connors and Ferris.